So I've always been a snorer, but recently my partner's been complaining about it more and more. So I decided to record myself with a boom mic to find out how bad it really is. So here's what I got. Now, that doesn't sound like just snoring to me, and it got me wondering, do I have sleep apnea? Hi, I'm Sebastian from Sleep Foundation. I've heard about sleep apnea for years. People have even told me I may have sleep apnea. Never thought too much about it, but after listening to that recording of myself, I figured it was time to find out more. So I did what most people would do, and I went online to do some medical research. But while I was there, I noticed that some of the risk factors are usually things like being overweight, being older, having a thick neck, apparently. None of these things are me though. I'm young, relatively healthy, I don't smoke or use sedatives, and my neck is fine. Could I really have sleep apnea? To be honest, I've always kind of wondered if I have sleep apnea, but I was too afraid to find out. I mean, to even get diagnosed, I'd have to go through the hassle of getting a sleep study. Means going to some strange place, getting monitored while I sleep? No thanks. And if I do have sleep apnea, that means I have to use a CPAP machine, right? But I figured it was better to know than to not know, so I sat down with Dr. Gould to find out more.
Do I have sleep apnea? How do you know? Apnea literally means without breath. So sleep apnea basically is the understanding that during your sleep, you stop breathing. And what happens is, with a lack of the appropriate neurotransmitters, the airway itself becomes sloppy, and the actual sleep program, the coordination of the diaphragm going down, the bronchioles dilating, inhalation through the nose, that whole system breaks down.
So based on his description, it sounds like I may have sleep apnea. And I wouldn't be the only one. 22 million Americans suffer from sleep apnea. But on the other hand, 90 million Americans snore. So which is it? How do I know if I just snore loud or if I have sleep apnea?
This is where it gets confusing because some people who have apnea snore, and some people who have apnea don't snore, and then people who snore may or may not have apnea. And the most important thing I want to tell people is if you snore, don't be paranoid that you have apnea, but you definitely want to get it checked out. And so these are the symptoms that will come along with that. Number one, it'll be snoring. Number two, it'll be bruxism, clenching and grinding. It usually comes along with sometimes anxiety, depression, neck pain, and then feeling tired in the afternoon. Usually like 3 o'clock, you're either thinking, I need a nap, or I gotta go get a latte with some extra caffeine to wake me up.
So as I mentioned to Dr. Gould, I definitely clench my teeth, although not more than normal. I do get drowsy sometimes, also not more than normal. And I do get occasional neck pain, but who doesn't? Aren't these things pretty normal? So at this point in the conversation, I'm starting to think that maybe I don't have sleep apnea. But let's say I do. How bad could it get if I left this alone?
The consequences of unaddressed sleep apnea, they're massive. Know this, that at a certain point in time, you will cross a threshold where the apnea will become permanent. Now, if you could imagine this, that you're stopping breathing all night long over and over again, after a few years, you may have caused enough brain damage so that that part of the brain no longer functions appropriately. That's when apnea sets in.
Okay, so now I'm starting to feel a little concerned, and I wanted to get Dr. Gould's opinion on my recording.
Right.
And there it
That's
was.
the syndrome. So to anyone listening, if you have a bed partner that makes that noise, and then there's that sort of noise that comes after, that's you starting breathing again. Whether you have apnea or not, we won't know. I'm pretty sure, this is something that you want to check out.
After talking with Dr. Gould, I'm still not 100% sure if I have sleep apnea, but I do know that it's more than just snoring. It's more common than I thought, and it affects all types of people, and the consequences of not addressing it are serious enough that I shouldn't be afraid of finding out more. My thanks to Dr. Gould for his time, and for me, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more that I need to learn about sleep apnea, the treatments, how it affects different people. So join me on my journey through this, but until then, sleep well.